Okay, welcome to Salon Lounge at Dixon Place. I'm Heidi Russell, founder of International Women Artists Salon, and it's my pleasure to be the host tonight. Usually we have a nice team that rotates through the hosting duties, but sometimes they're all out doing their own projects, which is wonderful for them and gives me an opportunity to jump on stage and do something I normally don't do. I'm a visual art photographer, so being on stage is a little different for me, but I really enjoy it. And it's wonderful to see a full house here tonight. Thank you all for coming out. I think it's spring, right? Is spring arrived yet?
Soon, kind of.
Kind of, yeah. So International Women Artists Salon was founded in 2008, and so we're heading into our 10th year already. It's hard to believe. And this is one of our programs that one of our series that we produce, and this happens normally on the third Saturday of every month, so please put that in your calendars. This month was a little bit of an anomaly. We had to change and adjust because of Dixon Place's needs. So save the date, the third Saturday of every month. This is going into our 6th year doing it here, so this is ongoing. So we need to build our fan base, have a regular, so please spread the word and come on back. Follow us on Facebook, International Women Artists Salon, and the same on YouTube. And on Twitter and Instagram, we have the hashtag or the handle Women Art Salon. Our blog is also currently womenartsalon.blogspot, which you can see all at the bottom of your program, so take that with you. And our email, womenartsalon@gmail.com. So if you're interested in joining us, partnering with us, sponsoring us, letting us know what's happening for women's artistry in your area of the industry or the world. We are international and unifying and bringing together women creatives of all disciplines, all generations, all cultures around the world. So tonight's just a bit of a taste of what women creatives are doing around the world, and great work as you're going to see tonight. And one of the missions that we have for not only connecting women creatives, contemporary women creatives around the world, but also helping to rewrite history, or her story, depending on however you like to think of what has come before us. And so there's many historical women creatives that have not gotten their due or the recognition that they've deserved. So we're trying to help that process as well throughout our platforms and also in our showcases. And tonight, our theme, which kind of came about all of these great artists and their projects, so they didn't commission the work per this theme, but we just found this theme that unified the pieces tonight. And it's exploring the self and navigating the world around us, or exploring the self as we navigate the world around us. And so be thinking about that as you experience these works tonight. And our historical honoree tonight is Mary Edmonia Lewis, and she was born in 1844 and died in 1907. Mary was an American sculptor who worked for most of her career in Rome, Italy. She was the first woman of African American and Native American heritage to achieve international fame and recognition as a sculptor in the fine arts world. Her work is known for incorporating themes relating to Black people and indigenous peoples of the Americas into Neoclassical-style sculpture. She began to gain prominence during the American Civil War, and at the end of the 19th century, she remained the only Black woman who had participated in and been recognized to any degree by the American artistic mainstream. In 2002, the scholar Molefi Kete Asante listed Edmonia Lewis on her list of 100 greatest African Americans. So we do honor Mary Edmonia Lewis this evening as well. And as some of you may know, or you're about to find out, the showcase is meant to not only have these great artists present some of their works in progress or that are in development or going to be showcased in full coming up very soon. And it's hopefully also an opportunity for you to get a taste of some other art form that maybe you would not have gone out to see or have had the pleasure to experience that much. So tonight we have film, visual art, literature, and dance. So to start us off, our film artist this evening is Shanna Riker, And I'm not going to read all of the bios because they're all here for you to read, but because I want to make sure we give the artist time. I don't think I've already spoken too much. So I'm just going to introduce the piece, and you can, I might read a little bit of their bio. But Shanna is one of the executive producers of Sit a Spell Productions, and that's a New York City-based female-led production company embarking on their first feature film, Unfinished Works. This female-centric narrative, written by Shanna, will be directed by executive producer Michelle Karst. And so we're going to see a bit of her, I think a clip. I think that's what we call it, right? Teaser, there we go. So, and I think, Shanna, you're going to talk a little bit about it first?
Yes.
So come on up.
Hi everyone! I'm really excited to be here. It's my first time. I met Heidi less than a week ago, and here we are. So it's great, you know, women and everyone coming together to support each other. So, like she said, I'm Shanna. I'm the executive producer of Sit a Spell Productions. Sit a Spell, it's a phrase used in the South and in the Midwest, mostly among women. It just means come in, welcome, let's warm you with friendship and stories, and when you leave, we'll all be better because we spent time together. So we're a female-led production company. We're based here in New York City. My co-founder, Michelle Karst, can't be here tonight. She had to work, but I'm happy to represent both of us. Sit a Spell formed over a coffee shop meeting. Two old friends. I hadn't seen Michelle in 3 years, 4 maybe, and I had written this screenplay and I wanted her to read it. I asked just for a pair of eyes to kind of give me some feedback, and 3 coffee meetings later, a month and a half later, we were forming a production company. We're gonna do it. We're just gonna produce this film ourselves, and we're currently in the pre-production stage. We're fundraising. We have an Indiegogo campaign. We've hosted 3 events. We have 2 more planned. It's like I'm a Rockefeller. It's really crazy. So Unfinished Works is important for lots of reasons. As a writer, as an artist, I had a lot of stories that I started writing at various points in my life, and for one reason or another, I just couldn't finish them. I couldn't find their endings or their middle, or something was missing. And I decided that these stories needed some sort of life. They didn't need to just sit in my notebook on my shelf. So I pulled them all out recently, and suddenly I'm turning them into one cohesive story. So the title is Unfinished Works. It comes from 5 stories that I had yet to finish until I realized that they all needed to be together. This is their story, this is their middle, and this is their ending. So the plan is to have female crew, predominantly female crew, women in the key creative positions. We have a director of photography already. Michelle, my partner, is also going to direct the film. I wrote it, I'm going to perform in it as well. The director of photography is going to be Amanda Faring, who started out in professional photography and has now transitioned to film. A little bit about the film. It's a female-centric narrative. It focuses on a writer. It's about a writer, and it takes place in her office and in her mind, and she has the ability to flow freely between both spaces. But it's a story of internal struggle. It sort of is posed to answer the question, why do we procrastinate the most on the things we want the most? Why can't we finish the things that we start when those are the things that we love? Instead, we clean our kitchen, or we, do something else. We do whatever we can do to avoid doing the things that we love. And it's about community. There's a whole band of misfits that live inside this woman's head. And she tries to finish a story, and another character comes in, and then another, and each one is demanding that she finish their story first. And she has 2 unlikely heroes living in her head. 2 very hot, buff, shirtless men. They sort of act as her stagehands in her mind. They're also kind of reminded of her to do daily tasks, to drink water, to feed the cat, to eat. All of the things that, as a writer, you kind of forget to do sometimes. You're caught up in the moment, and you're doing your thing, and then you look up and it's 4 a.m. and you don't know how it happened. So these guys are kind of there to keep her sane and in the moment. So I'm gonna read just like 3 short pages from the script, the very first 3 pages, and then when I'm finished, Heidi's gonna play our teaser for you. The writer types as Alicia, 18, on the taller side, walks through a curtain into the playing space, her mind. She has wavy auburn hair. Alicia appears vintage, almost as if she is from a slightly different time. She stares at the writer for a moment before speaking. The watch on her wrist beeps as if an alarm is going off. She has a southern drawl. The writer, startled, looks up from her staring. She eyes Alicia up and down. I'm going to read all 3 parts. There's 4 parts. I'm going to read them all. Okay, Alicia. Excuse me, I'm here for the movie? The movie? No, I'm finishing a play today, and you're all wrong for that. I have a deadline. Oh, okay, thank you. Is it cool if I just wait? Feel free, but it might be a while. Alicia begins to walk to the corner. Wait! I know you. Alicia Dawn Hardin. How'd you know? I know lots of things. The writer grabs a notebook from her desk and furiously begins to write. For example, I know you hate your hair. If you don't, you should, because I certainly do. The cat jumps down as the writer stands up and walks into her mind with Alicia. No, I love my hair. It's the only hair I've ever had. The writer pulls off Alicia's wavy auburn hair. Alicia stands there in a wig cap. The writer holds up a red wig, a black bob, and then settles on a long, silky blonde piece. She places it on Alicia's head, adjusts it, steps back. The writer pulls a mirror out of the prop box and shows Alicia her new hair. Wow, that looks great. Of course it does. This is my job. It's what I do. Now, go over there and sit. I'll be with you at some point. The writer returns to her chair as Alicia sits on the ground. I really am sorry I don't need you today, but you must understand my last play was such a surprise success. They already have a theater ready for this one. Of course, I don't mind at all. What's your play about? It's sort of absurdist, bare bones. There's Girl, 25, walks into the playing space. She is petite, glasses, thick, bouncy, black curls. Her brother, Boy, 34, walks into the playing space. He is tall but has similar features to Girl's. There are others, but they are the main ones. Now, Girl, Boy, where were we? Wait, Girl, why are your eyes green? I thought I would try something different. The writer gets up and re-enters her mind. She goes to the drawers on the back wall. She opens the eye color drawer. She pulls out a contact case and returns to Girl. She retrieves the handheld mirror and holds it in front of Girl while she puts in blue contact lenses. I can't let you change things on your own. First it's eye color. Then, before I know it, you'll want a TV show instead of a bare bones play. I know, I just thought... Please stop being difficult. Don't you want a TV show? Well, of course. Wouldn't that be wonderful? Maybe you should write one. Perhaps I should. The writer walks back to her desk. Camera on the writer. The writer types as the cat jumps back into her lap. Hemingway. What am I going to do with them, huh? So, where were we? Pull back and you can see the mind and the office. Boy enters. I believe we had just gotten to the hippopotamus or the hula hoop. Yes, Mom had just called Girl fat. Thanks for reminding me. What's your play called? In These Genes. Like these jeans? No, like genes. Genes. Like genetic genes. But those are nice jeans. Vintage? No, this is how all the girls wear them. This is just a very, very small taste. It's just the first 3 pages of a 103-page screenplay. Thank you very much. We're gonna play the teaser.
My job, to tell their stories. She was my best friend. Where do they all come from? I loved him. they're gone. He only stayed for a minute, but never actually left. What if all of it is?
All right, that's all I got. Thank you guys very much.
Thank you, Shanna. Another round of applause for Shanna and her team. Can't wait to see the whole production on the big screen. And in the meantime, check out her materials and support Indiegogo, is that what it is?
We have an Indiegogo, yes.
Indiegogo, yeah. So those of you who don't know what Indiegogo is, it's a great platform that artists use to help raise funds for their projects. And the great part of it is if they don't reach their goal, they still get the money on that particular fundraising platform. So do check it out. So thank you so much. Get a little out of breath from running back and forth here. Okay. So next, we're going to have our visual art section, and not all visual artists are speakers, and so sometimes we have 4 presentations and then also a visual artist on the side displaying their works. But tonight, we have the pleasure of a wonderful creative visual artist who also speaks and does panels and workshops and such around the world. So it's my pleasure to welcome Manzar, and she is presenting bits about her book, Women East, Women West for Global Peace. And Manzar was born in Iran, studied art and music, both in Iran and the US. She's a director and consultant at Watermark Gallery, and also consultant chair at Maryland State Council Multicultural Organization, and founder of IMA of America, International Multidisciplinary Artists of America. So I'm going to bring her up to the stage, and I'm going to let her talk about her magnificent book, and we'll bring up some of the images behind her as well. So Manzar.
It's actually, well, thanks first of all for Dixon Place and Heidi, and also I'm really interested in Shanna's work to see what is her stories are about. Because my work is also telling stories, but it's in a visual form. Mm-hmm. So there is no words, only the women and looking at their eyes, telling their stories. So what I'm going to show you is a little teaser as well, because I give talks and they go to hours of discussion, of which I like to, have your collaboration, not here just because we have only 10 minutes. But what I would like to let you know is what we're going to do for 10 minutes here is just the sort of a summary of these 2 books, which is also stories told about women. I travel international and I hold exhibits, and so women come to me and tell their stories, and I find a lot of commonality in whatever is happening with women. And of course, I found and research and doing all kinds of investigations and exploration to find out what is good for us as human beings, regardless of our gender. Which comes this book, Conversation with Silence. And the next book that has been into birth, coming to birth for past 2 years. I've been working with those projects as well. So we're going to have a short of each book and what is I'm doing in the next, hopefully, 2 more years for this new project. Okay, we have a slide here.
Do you still want to take the mic so you can?
Yes, the book, I think, do you hear me?
Yes.
You hear me?
Okay,
Yeah,
yes, as long as the recording is.
Oh, so we want to, can you do recording?
Yeah,
right?
I can do
Okay, it's gone. So the first one actually is this, which we don't have it here apparently.
I can go back further if you want.
Women West, Women East for Global Peace.
There we go. That one?
Yes, that is. And yes, we can.
Okay.
proceed. My works evoke from contemplative, meditative state of mind the sensual invitations to a greater state of mind, connecting one's feeling and thoughts to one's inner self. The images in this compilation represents socio-political effect on women, a call for embracement of diversity, peace, and celebration. And of course, these are all being said from a woman eye. Observation, exploration, or expressions, realization, transformation through decades. Oh, okay. These are selection of different series, which is disconnected realities of the women body, women physical body. So, which I was doing in early 80s, and for perhaps for what was happening overseas to women. And these are just selections from those chapters. Women of Persia, Her Third Eye, which is actually looking into oneself, inner self, to find out more as we look out. So it was somehow exploration for oneself within, and just to understand and remember what was my experiences as I was growing up in another culture, in Iran. These series are called Her Third Eye, which you see basically there is no eye on these women, but they represent the inner wisdom and the inner knowledge that we all need. Where is the next one? Where is? Women of Persia, quantum women. So my husband is a physicist here, and I love physics and reading about quantum physics, and I thought it's so related to what I have been experiencing through my years, and the fact how women stories have been developing through the decades. And it looks like a quantum experience. So my women are also in quantum realm. As you see, is one side of them is really show you what it is about. The other side is left alone to possibilities. And each of them has its own stories, but we're not going to do it tonight. Hopefully, April 7th, we have something more in detail. And this is the other book, which is Conversation with Silence, which I realized in a way that we could explore really the deepest of our own self and the deepest of the realities, if we can call it, out there, is to turn off this conceptual self of ours, that what we have learned through the centuries, through the generations up to now, and look at the world with fresh eye and fresh possibilities, that how we can answer the problems that we are involved with in the hemisphere of the planet Earth. To find possibilities, and that silence that we converse with perhaps can provide us solutions that every single day we are confronting in our personal and social political life. So, okay, we don't have time to read this perhaps, okay? In contrast with visual stories told in my first book, A Woman's Eye, Women East, Women West for Global Peace, conversation with silence stems from a field of non-conceptual state of mind, a presence filled with vibrating silence. The series in this book are produced after observatory meditation filled with feeling of peace and unity consciousness inspired by literature of ancient wisdom of the East, reflected in the contemporary wisdom of the West. This is an invitation to see, to feel and experience the sense of being within each image, along with the meditative presence in which they were manifested. Silence. This moment, this love comes to rest in me. I can't read this, it's not focused. Many beings in one being, in silence. Conversation with silence too, so this goes on. Different images as we can go on. These are all have stories which time doesn't allow us here. And the Magoo project, actually, which is the next book to come, I've been working for past 2 years or more. It's again, Magoo is actually means silence, which is actually, it's inspired by Rumi books. Rumi, as you all know, perhaps the 13th century mystic poet. And there is the book that this very poem that I have been inspired by, we can see, perhaps this is Magoo in Persian language. I used to sort of convey this idea of silence within us. This is the poem, and I call this Magoo poem. And in this poetry, as you see, the last word is Magoo, all the way you could see the form, right? So I use that very word, which Rumi tells us on and on, to turn off your conceptual mind and look at world for another possibilities, or fresh possibilities, or room of creation, or so on. And so I took this very word and I created hundreds, perhaps 300 works, so up to now, which comes into sculpture and designs for parks and for some retreat centers. These are all Magoo. These are sketches that on and on I played with this form, and I led myself in the silence of meditative state of being to see where leads you there.
We have a couple minutes. One more minute or so.
Yes, that is almost the end. You can just go on. This is all Magoo. These are all mean silence, 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 silence. And that comes into abstraction of that form itself and the sculptural forms. And So what I try to say is just to be, and to feel, and then to think, and then to do, instead of the other way as we have been taught in some societies. These are ma, is a ma, the short for ma, gu, ma. These are, and of course my breakfast time usually I have a coffee and whatever, and I observe, and I feel, and I be. Then I do my artworks. So just to be. Thank you.
Thank you, Manzar. And you can, these books are for sale?
Through Amazon.
Through Amazon, right? So you can find out how to navigate there and more about Manzar's works at her website, which is on the sheet of paper here, www.manzar.net. Fabulous work, and Manzar and I are always talking about how to bring the East and West together and all cultures around the world, and it's one of my missions through the International Women Artists Salon, so it's a great pleasure to be working with Manzar in that mission. Thank you for being here with us tonight. And next we're going to bring our literature artist up to the stage, Sherese Francis. And Sherese is a Southeast Queens-based published author, poet, speculative fiction writer, blogger, and literary curator. She has been published in several journals, websites, and anthologies, including Newtown Literary, and African Voices, and Bone Bouquet. Currently, she runs her Afro-futurist-inspired blog, Futuristically Ancient, and her her mobile library project, J Expressions. So welcome to the stage, Sherese. She's going to be reading from her couple chapbooks.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you for coming out tonight. Thank you, Heidi, for having me. I'm going to be reading from my two chapbooks, Lucy's Bone Scrolls and Variations on Settling Seedling.
Yes.
First poem I'm going to read is called Narrative Technology. Our stories be survival tools and healing medicine, moving us, raising us up. Our stories be mutinies, pirate spaceships stealing back legacies, arc of the archive, arc of bones, arc of the new, break through. The techno veil of white reality, fiction of race pushed against, piercing through like bullets into our skins. Will future force the meaning of skin to change shape? What would an other world look like if the world didn't exist as we know it now? What would Octavia do? 2. Goals. Explore technology's dark side. Dark matter wafting between spaces of creation. Crystal ball tellers of originality. Get dirty, get wet, get mixed. We, creation on a potter's wheel planet, divine reflection made of clay. God, she must have had a dirty mind, like the feel of her fingers coiling life into shape. 3. Is future moving forward? Maybe it moves in reverse, like newborn to ancient ancestor to newborn again, like revolution will begin again, like imagination bending body back to the time is now, coming back around to knock you out. What do you see in your crystal ball constellation? Wicked witch or narcissist in the image pool? Rippling reflection? We be both mad scientists and monsters. We be both science and fiction. We keep fighting this world to create an other, sailing to touch the dark mind of the cosmos, to see ourselves in its identification card and be given permission to live. This next poem is called I Imagine, the Fugitive Imaginings of a Black Spring Goddess. She imagined a world where she could breathe. Her body was enough to stop bullets. She had powers to make her vision realities. She would see the world through the eyes of space, see the universe in its entirety, not just herself. See, she was the universe, space and time too. She could throw a dart at injustice and make it disappear with love, like the charge in Cupid's arrow. She could feel everyone's story flow through her body, and she would die and be born again each time. She would let them whisper to her. She would let them use her voice because she owed that to them, but she would use her voice for herself first. She would consume her rage before anyone else could. She would call out those who abandoned her. She would sew up her wounds like a quilt, her scars a secret code of a map, a constellation of futures. She would search for futures outside of cages, outside of auction block stages, outside of greedy, watchful eyes, like waves in a particle wave theory. She imagined she was the waves. She was the ocean. She was the earth. She was creator and creation. She was the dark universe full of stars. She saw herself whole again. This next poem is called Forbidden Fruit, Love is Strange. This is not a fairy tale's happily ever after. This is a court record of my testimony and my sentencing. The conviction of the guilty for taking a beauty which by man's law I was told I couldn't have. Like I stole fire from a heaven we didn't deserve. I am delivered up by a betrayer's kiss that chose me, pinned me like to a cross, blessed me in blood, and branded me with a red beastly mark. Into my chest for submitting to my desire, for satisfying my curiosity, for being like Eve who wanted to be like God and pluck songs off her freedom's tangled web that now hangs me. By these words may I be born again and attract the hungry fire of belly that pierces fruit rinds and finds new discovery in something I have folded into myself. Hiding in the flaming skin of dragon fruit, in the monstrous fingers of Buddha's hands, in the hornfish kawano, in the flowering massive jackfruit body, in the messy bed hair of rambutan, in the bulging eyes and twisted shape of magnolia. The greatest beauty found within a frightening face is what I give to a stranger to reveal myself. A stranger who will want to drink my filling juices, who has eyes to see me as good. See that I've paid the price of entry. See that I wanted dirt. I wanted the ground to open up and dance with all of its faults and mine. Eat my shell, the rain and the sun whole, and raise hell like a rocket ship, elevating my breaking bark into a howl. These next set of poems are from my second chapbook, Variations on Settling Seedling. It's a collection of concrete poems inspired by nature. And the first poem I'm going to read is called Matrimony's Turn. Rings, the first recorder, reminder of a heart beating in the chest. Rings around the rosy, budding, blooming ashes. Axes rose and revelation fell down. Footing on the ground was the first written word. Strung together, putting it in your pocket, a poesy, a creation, a direction, hiding. Now is clear, now you can come back. Still beating is the same heart. Other times you take the poesy, putting it around your neck on a string. Let it hang like a fruit, a budding close to your heart. In it, a book of spells, rings, reminders, footing to stand on, a pestle and mortar, a creation of potions and puddings, know which is cure and which is poison, a gathering of herbs hiding, a secret reminder that your heart could still keep beating, like a doctor's prescription, a choreography of where to place your footing, where to turn and return, where to sing your song, where beating the drum will come, a string of inoculations, budding, passing along, an immunity, a stability, a standing, a footing, stringing pages, pagans, piece together and putting them into an anthology, a rosary, a bouquet, a reminder, hiding all the revelations of the world, a treasure trunk of medicine, hiding a reminder that your heart could still keep beating, 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 beating. And this last poem I'm going to read is called Seeds of a Far Dustling. The seed is flow, and you'll hear it throughout the poem. Bark float, flow ship telegram. The sky flow is falling flow. Cracked mirror flow is all flow. My reflection flow, my refraction flow. A muddy river flow, stained with flow. Shifting seti flow, meant flow. A settling flow happens and separation comes flow. Strown flow, water, earth, fire, air flow. The elements have forgotten how flow. To come together flow and rise out of the cave flow. Remember flow, I am too flow. A birth echo chamber flow of every word flow. Remnants of a twisting sound mind flow. Gravel mixed into con flow. Crete flow, creator flow, griot flow. A syncretic founding of home flow. Understanding flow, under its rain flow. And yet still standing flow. I will rise flow, like a furnace's forgery flow, the loose earth con flow, geos flow, glues flow, the clay turns into green flow, towards the blues flow, and gold sun flow, above and below flow, pan flow, smear it over flow, smite it into a new form flow, a meeting ground flow, an equal exchange flow, a bridge flow, a story of how I got over flow, what I offered flow, passing through an aperture flow, gaining an appellation flow, navigating a here flow, the application of the tail flow, the stars of a bear flow, air guided me here flow, the greater shadow above covers me and sparks flow, speaks an abundance of light flow. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Sherese. And are your chapbooks for sale?
Yeah, and I have a few on me.
Fantastic. She has a few with her, so please patron her creative passion and help her get these poems out in the world. It's my pleasure to bring our last group to the stage, and it's featuring Jessica Lamb, who is a dancer, choreographer, producer, etc. She, along with Elizabeth James Haley Taylor, started working on Some Kind of Prelude in late January of 2018, and is yet another venture into the space around between the informative and pedestrian, and their interest in navigating working relationships that teeter between professional and personal. And you can see their bios listed on here with her dancers.
Hi everyone, so I'm Jessica, and these are my friends, Elizabeth, James, Haley, and Taylor. And what you're watching is a live, full-length trailer of the first section of the piece that we've been working on since January. And the working title is Some Kind of Prelude, and tonight we're doing the tiny version of Some Kind of Prelude. As I'm hoping you might have noticed, I'm interested in the space around and between the performative and the pedestrian, and in navigating working relationships that teeter between professional and personal. In the spirit of downtown dance, my approach has been to facilitate a practice that enables the dancers and myself to work in very close collaboration with one another. And in preparation for this show, we've really pushed the extent of our closeness within this collaborative effort. If you have any observations or questions, please feel free to look for me after the show. Thanks for being here, and I hope you stay for the rest of the days.
all of the artists back up on the stage. And give everybody a round of applause again. And Jessica and her troupe here, brilliant work. Wow, I'm just feeling all energized at all the work tonight, right? I feel like I'm connected with life, connecting with ourselves and each other, right? So all the artists, please come back up on stage so our great audience can give everybody a round of applause again. And we get a group photos. So come on up, artists. Come on up. Woo! Okay, full round. Let's go. All right, let's get a group photo. I'll rely on your photos. Okay. There we go. Can we get all of us in? Can we maybe a couple of us down here? Short with me. Come on, there we go. There we go. There it is. Awesome. I'm not sure when the next show is coming up from downstairs, but since they haven't yet, let's take a moment. Does anybody have any questions for our artists? Yes, back there. Speak up. Up and out.
Project.
Project. Yes.
Project.
Up and out.
My question is for Jessica.
Yeah.
Where does one think kind of like the negative space between your professional and like personal relationship and how that interaction happens? Where did that come from?
I think just, can you hear me like that?
Yeah, I
Okay.
can.
Well, it would be great if you could hold the mic, just because we're recording it, so people can hear it.
Okay, I think it just comes from working with friends and choosing to work with friends. And also trying to make stuff that hopefully seems well crafted, but also not treating it too seriously. Yeah.
Do you, this is my last question. Do you see this, when this work is finished, being like if keeping it real is the goal, like is like street shoes and, you know, clothes that we live our everyday life in a part of that?
When I started making the piece, we started rehearsals without knowing that we were going to have shows coming up. So I mainly just wanted to be in some kind of process with these people, and all the costumes and decisions about performance were kind of, they weren't, like we never stressed about stuff like that. So yeah, the look that we were going for was stage crew chic.
You nailed it.
Yes.
Nailed it.
Anybody else?
I have a question for Shanna. So, you said this is your first feature film attempt, which I think is great and it looks awesome. And I really, really, really love the basis for the storyline. I'm intrigued, however, knowing that this is a culmination of unfinished works, why you chose to do this as opposed to, as I'm sure you're a writer, that you have many finished works that could have been first. So I'm just curious why the unfinished influenced you to as your first starting piece for a film.
Well, there's 3 answers, I think. So I adapted the entire song catalog of my favorite singer-songwriter into a screenplay, and he has it. He's probably not read it. That's the movie I was going to produce this year. That's the one. I wrote it, and I met with him, and I met with his team, and I never heard a thing. So last year, around July, August, I was like, well, I'm going to produce a movie next year. That's what I'm doing. That was the goal, and it's not going to be this one. So what's it going to be? I didn't have any other screenplays completed. I do have a novel that is out. It's called Barbecue Fried Chicken and Where's the Will? It's on Amazon if anybody wants to read it. But I hadn't adapted. I hadn't finished adapting it into a screenplay yet. So I just sort of thought, okay, well, you need a movie to produce. Okay, cool. So I just like went through all my old notebooks and all my old stuff, and these stories, like I said, they sort of haunted me. They've sort of been friendly ghosts with me since I just put them away and was like, you're done, we're done. But we never done. We never reached that point. So I pulled them out and I kind of went through them again, and I was like, what if I released a book, the unfinished works, but like don't edit these things and just put them in a book? And I had two very dear friends who said, nobody wants to read that. Nobody knows who you are. So don't do that. Maybe do that after you make it into a movie. And I said, oh, okay, well then I guess I'll have to make it into a movie first, so that someone will want to read my unedited babble, basically. So that's what I'm doing. I'm turning it into a movie. And it's been turned into a screenplay, and it will be a movie, hopefully. We're going to start shooting in June. That's the plan. But yeah, so I think this is first, so that number 3 can probably be the screenplay that I've adapted the entire song catalog of my favorite singer-songwriter. I can't tell you, because then it might not happen, but that's that.
Great. And before they come up from downstairs, I know each of you have something coming up or something on right now, Indiegogo, etc. So, Jessica, do you have anything coming up that you'd like to invite people to? Any fundraisers or anything you'd like to announce? You can tell them you can tell who the dancers are, right? They're just relaxing.
They're really chilling.
We haven't fully discussed this yet, but we might have a show on May 15th.
Surprise!
Yeah, we talked about it once, but we haven't fully.
So is that a definite?
I'll be showing something, but I don't know what
What's
yet.
the date again?
May 15th.
May 15th. Okay.
And I don't have any formal fundraiser set up, but we'll gladly take donations.
Well, on April 7th at the Chapel of Three Sisters on the York College campus, I will be hosting an event called Prologue, and it's going to be a literary tribute to Southeast Queens in conjunction with the Southeast Queens Biennial that's happening there.
So far, none of our dates conflict. On April 10th at Ryan's Daughter on the Upper East Side, we're doing another fundraiser event. It's a reading of intimate readings. We're going to be doing 5 key scenes from the script in chronological order. We're also going to have raffle prizes, and there's a photo booth and drinks, of course, because we like to meet in bars as artists. So, yeah, April 10th, 7 o'clock. It's only $5 to get in, so that's a steal, right? I think so.
I think I'll be there.
You be there. Come.
You have to tell me more about it later. Yes, I'll be hosting a program as we have been doing this for 10 years now, celebration of 10 years anniversary of Rumi and More at Watermark Gallery. And that's a combination of literature, lit, art, and music. And it's going to be on May, the last Sunday of the May. And so, yeah, hopefully we see some of you in Baltimore.
Fantastic. Just a great time. So I'm just going to invite everybody to mix and mingle. Check out the chapbooks for sale, the Manzar's books, and patrons, Stephen over here, great bartending, and thank you to Dixon Place and all their staff, and to you, all of our audience and our supporters. Thank you, and we look forward to seeing you next time. Woo! Bravo.